Now, after the murder conviction and you went, back to South Florida, where did you go after South Florida on the second bid? And was it similar to the first bid?
Not at all. This is where the big ride begins. When I come back, I went to Martin Correctional Institution. Okay. I'm at Martin Correctional Institution, and this place is rough, real rough. I mean, when you come in, they tell you, those of you going to the pound, go this way. Those of you that are checking in, go this way, right? And I'm talking about, there wasn't just white dudes checking in, there was black dudes and all kinds of people checking in. So the check-ins, they went this way, and the people going to the pound went this way. I went to the pound. I knew people there, but I'll tell you what, that was a tight place. You keep your back to the wall. You keep your back to the wall, you mind your own business. I was there for a while, and when the Rodney King thing happened, right? The officers from Rodney King, this is way out in California, they got found not guilty. And it kicked off in Florida for that. You know what I'm saying? Massive riot. Okay, so they switch everybody around, and I go to Charlotte, which is just as bad as Martin. It's balls to the wall. Then, you still had the cash money. They fed you real good. Back then, they fed you decent in prison where you didn't have to spend all your money eating in the canteen. You know what I'm saying? You buy your cigarettes, whatnot. They actually fed halfway decent up until when Bush became the governor of Florida, the President Bush's brother. They started going to outside sources to make your food and stuff like that, Trinity and all them groups. And you know what's crazy? That the governor's wife owned the company that was feeding everybody in Florida. And that was what I call the downfall of the system. Because back then, you get package permits, you could have Super 2 radios, big radio, like a little blaster. It only did AM, FM, but it had 2 big speakers on it. Prison was comfortable. Prison was somewhat comfortable then. They had weights, they had all the recreation programs, because until they went to an outside vendor for the canteen was created for the profits from that to go to the inmates. We watched VCR movies on the weekends. They showed movies on the weekends, and it was paid for by the Inmate Welfare Fund, is what they called it. But the cops ended up taking it and using it for their shit. Everybody in the state of Florida got $5 for Christmas, where you had a voucher to go spend $5 up at or they gave you a $5 bill.
Did you ever find yourself in a position where you had to be violent with somebody where it went past fighting?
Oh yeah. Now, my second time at Martin, that was in 2000. You see where I got the charge for battery on an inmate out of Martin County. You see that on my thing? Okay. I got put in a position, if I didn't do nothing, then they were going to come in. That's just how it is. If you let somebody steal from you or take something from you, the next thing you know, they're coming in there with their dicks hanging out and all that crazy shit. So you nip that in the bud. I got caught up in that, and I kind of learned from that, where I've had to do that several times in my career, beyond just fighting, where other things involved, and I learned where to do it and how to do it. As long as the cops don't see you, you get away with it.
And were the stabbings and stuff like that just as common as today?
Oh yeah, at certain camps, yeah. And then at some, there was a lot of bodies rolling back then. If go back and look at the inmate mortality, for like around 90, 91 in the 90s. And that's about when they started. A lot of people were getting killed.
Back then, you guys didn't have, you know, the K2, which I think, I don't know, K2 must have hit around what, like 2011, 2012?
Yeah, right before I EOS'd, it started coming in because nobody wanted to smoke weed because of the piss test.
Yeah. What was the major drugs, you know, in the prison system back in the 80s and the 90s?
Weed.
Just straight weed.
Just straight reefer and buck.
Yeah, the buck. That's always good.
You know, like every camp I had, and I did it. I did it for a while because the money's real good. You got the place to hide it, and you got the stuff to get. You know, back then it was $7 a gallon. Now it's like $15 or something when I left. But you know, you make buck and you sell it. But the cops didn't like the buck because when people drink buck, you know what happens.
That wild no.
Just like at the club, but you're in prison. 22 years, almost half of it either on disciplinary confinement or CM. I did 3 bids on CM.
It's crazy to hear that you went to prison before I was born and you got out literally the year that I went in. But how was it? How was CM and everything like that back then? Because I'm guessing, like, when did they put the cameras into the prison systems?
They started putting the cameras in the newer facilities almost immediately, like around after 2000, like around 2004. They started putting them in because they, you know, they built all them annexes where they got the ACs in them and all that. And but back then, when you went on when you went on CM, you didn't get your radio and food and all that like they do now. You got a Bible and that's it.
And were the COs even more abusive because of the fact there was no camera?
Oh yeah. And then, you know, you get back there. I mean, I had a strong enough mind, and there, you know, you talk on the door, you play chess with your next door neighbor, make a chessboard. There's all kinds of things that you could do, but a lot of people that I thought had strong minds, they were doing some real bad stuff to themselves, man, cutting themselves. It was bad. That's why an inmate put a class action suit. His name was Osterback. That it was sensory deprivation because they were putting windows up putting these things by the window where you couldn't even see out the window and no air could come in either.
What was the change in violence that you witnessed once they put in the cameras?
You know what? Actually, it was getting worse even with the cameras. Like, they didn't give a fuck about the cameras at Mayo where I EOS'd at. Yeah. They didn't give a damn about no camera over there. They're going to do what they're going to do. Most of the time, man, with camera or no camera, motherfucker ready to go, they're going to go. They'll do it right in front of the captain if that's the only way they can get to him.
Did you see a lot of inmate on correctional officer violence in the 80s and 90s as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But see, they were a lot smarter back then. They had their places where they could do their thing. But the ones that were out there in the dormitories, most of them were veterans. They knew how to talk to people and they get by. But then you get these assholes come in and they might do something stupid like come and kick somebody's bed while they're sleeping. This dude got a life sentence. He's up out of the bed on that dude's ass. You know what I'm saying? And then guess what? The officer realizes that don't touch no inmates, don't touch their beds, all that. And they had to learn just like everybody else. I knew the dudes too, man. When I was at Charlotte the second time, all these camps I've been to like double. Go to CM, go to another camp, and back up over there. When they killed that lady correction officer trying to escape, they're both on death row right now. I heard a guy on death's on Def's channel that he was in the cell next to one of them. I knew both of them personally, you know, from the compound.
What was the story behind that escape?
They were decided to escape, and how stupid correction is. These guys worked in maintenance, and they were really good at what they were doing. And they had 2 dormitories they were remodeling, and they needed them done quick. So they let this lady, and you can look this up now.
Correctional Officer Dala Lathram was killed as she supervised 5 inmates on a construction detail inside the Charlotte Correctional Institution. She was assaulted by 3 of the inmates as they made an attempt to escape. The inmates were assisting with the building of a new dormitory for the maximum security prison and had access to tools such as hammers and screwdrivers. They attacked her with 5-pound sledgehammers. 2 of the inmates were attacked by the other 3 when they refused to participate in the escape attempt. One of the victim inmates died as a result of his injuries.
You know, in media reports, this lady had been working there 1 year, and they had her take 5 inmates into a dorm with nobody in it at 8 o'clock at night to do work. And they decided they were going to make their play from in there. And you know, I never thought they'd do, but they killed her with a sledgehammer, and then killed another inmate that tried to stop it, and then they got caught in between the fence, and then you know their story from there. That's one thing that you do not ever if you kill a cop in Florida, you might as well kill yourself right after you do it, because you're going to live the most nasty existence known to man until they execute you. Both of them are still alive. They're waiting execution right now. Killed one of the inmates that tried to stop them from killing the woman, and then put another one up into like a coma where he's like a crazy motherfucker now. Frank Valdez was a prisoner, and he got released around 1987, right? And his buddy had a life sentence, a guy named William Van Point. And he decided to break his buddy out of prison. Well, his buddy was at Belle Glade, and he found out he had a dentist appointment in West Palm Beach. Well, Frank tried to bust him out and ended up killing the officer, and the officer ended up throwing the keys in the storm grate where he couldn't get the guy out of the van and he had to leave. But they found out who he was. They got him. They put him on death row. And the guy that he killed was named Griffiths. And if you know anything about Florida prisons, Griffiths is one of the biggest families in the correction. You know, all the correctional institutions, you got big family names where all the family worked there and been working there since, you know, the beginning. Yeah. And so Griffiths was down there in Belle Glade, but his family's from up there in Rayford and Stark. You know what I'm saying? He went in there, he was on death row. He was back there raising hell or whatever, or doing, probably not even raising hell. They said he was, and they went in there and you seen part of it. 9 correction officers stomped him to death in handcuffs. None of them got convicted.
Valdez had a death sentence resulting from a 1986 fatal shooting of Glades Correctional Institution correctional officer Fred Griffiths. At the time, Valdez was attempting to assist an inmate escape. Fellow inmate William Van Poyck was sentenced to death for his role in Griffiths' murder and was executed on June 12, 2013. Prosecutors of the state criminal trial stated that Valdez's attack was due to a desire to prevent him from discussing mistreatment of inmates with reporters. The Florida Department of Corrections stated that Valdez had threatened one of the officers, leading to an extraction team to be called to his cell. The incident occurred in the X-wing area of the prison. Inmates stated that correctional officers placed the body in a hallway and used bleach to clean Valdez's cell. The inmate stated that the officers placed his body in another cell and then called 911. The autopsy showed prints of correctional officer boots on Valdez's skin, and he also had broken ribs. Valdez was pronounced dead at the Shands Hospital in Stock. That day, the FDLE was notified about the incident. The DOC ruled that Valdez committed suicide by diving off his bunk and hitting the bars of his cell. The FDLE ruled that he died due to a beating. The 9 officers who were suspended from their jobs refused to talk. This prompted the FBI to join the FDLE investigation. Captain Timothy Thornton, Sergeant Charles Brown, Sergeant Jason Griffiths, and Sergeant Robert Sauls were indicted by Alachua County, Florida grand jury on February 3, 2000. The charges were second-degree murder, official corruption, battery on an inmate, and aggravated battery. The other 5 guards also had charges. One defendant was acquitted in 2000. In 2002, Thornton, Griffiths, and Brown were acquitted. The jury given the verdict consisted of 5 men and 1 woman. Bill Cervone, the Florida state attorney, dropped the remaining charges in 2002. Cervone argued that the trial was problematic since it was in Bradford County, where other prisons were located, and he also cited the 2 previous acquittals. Jason Griffiths has no relation to Fred Griffiths. Jason Griffiths accused the trial of being politically motivated. The Department of Corrections fired all 9 officers. Yolanda Murphy, the DOC spokesperson, said that the 9 had falsified reports and used excessive and/or unnecessary force and therefore violated the department's rules. Valdez's ex-wife and family brought civil suits. In 2002, United States Department of Justice officials stated that they were considering bringing civil rights charges against the 3 officers. As a result, the Department of Corrections added cameras to the X-Wing and began requiring the use of video cameras during cell extractions and planned use of force events.
But it changed a lot of things, though, and that saved a lot of people. But I'm going to tell you something. The only reason why FDLE got involved because he was a death row inmate and his family got up there. But there's so many just like Valdez that died. And when you're in one of them counties, everybody's related. The medical examiner is the cousin of the sergeant of the shift. And so many people were killed by the police in the state of Florida in prison and then just checked off as a suicide. And they got away with it.
That's going down today. That's still how it is. It's crazy.
That's their trick. That's their little trick.
You've done so much time. I'm sure, you've witnessed somebody die in prison before.
Oh, yeah. I've watched people stab people to death. I used to watch how it was done and take precautions to keep that from happening to myself.
Now, how does that affect you being released and being in the free world?
Like right now, it's real hard for me to get a job. I got some people to give me some little jobs here and there, and I go mow yards. But because of having a case like I got with a firearm, no regular business won't hire me, period. And I stay to myself a lot. You know what I'm saying? I've got some friends, girlfriends, stuff like that, but majority of the time I stay by myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't get off in bars and crowds and all that. And I do the same thing I'm like in prison. I watch my back in the store. You know what I mean? I feel like something could happen anywhere,
Yeah, I feel the same way. I found myself isolating myself a lot, even though I'm in society now, and it's almost like it's more comfortable to not be in the crowd where something can't happen when I can just, have my back to the wall and stay away from everybody. But,
right, and my friends, they like to take me out with them because I see shit happening before it even happens. I feel it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was with some friends not too long ago. We were at a poker game, and I told my buddy, it's fixing to go down, cash your shit in. And then not too long after that, some really bad shit happened there, but we were already gone. You know how you can feel vibes.
Yeah, you pick up on that energy.
And you can still use it out here too. You're walking out here and you're in a store and you see somebody look at you and you look at them and they turn their head real quick. You know that person's up to something. You know what I mean? I have sleep disorders, where I can sleep, but a lot of times I wake up sitting at the end of my bunk. You remember how they used to call count time at any time and you're still asleep, but you're on the end of your bunk.
Yeah, you gotta be sitting up.
And that happens to me all the time still. There ain't nothing out here worth giving your life away to go to prison. Cars, chains, you can get all that the right way. If you know how to hustle, you can hustle the right way. Because once you step into the Department of Corrections, your life is no longer guaranteed. The person you are is no longer guaranteed. I'm not saying everybody's soft and everybody's hard, but that's going to depend quite a bit on what's going to happen to you when you go in there. But you could be the hardest man in the world and you're going to come out with mental scars. You're going to be branded for the rest of your life. You're not going to get the good job. Where if I would have focused and went to school and did like my friends and stuff did and have careers, but I live hand to mouth now. You know what I'm saying?
What do you feel is one of the biggest life lessons that you learned inside of prison?
You've got to think about what you're doing, and one mistake can cost you. I spent almost my whole adult life in there. I gave my the good years of your life is in your 20s and 30s. And then after that, it starts, I gave that all away to rob somebody for some fucking dope. Gave it all away for nothing. That you're going to go out there and kill this dude because he went on Instagram and dissed you and you go kill him and now your life is over. When you could have just said, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Could have went the other way. You throw your life away for just a word that somebody says to you or something like that. And all them people, once they get in there, they were like, damn, why'd I do that?
Yeah. I've seen people full-blown break down after realizing that, I'm stuck in here and I can't get out. They can't handle it.
It's all about choices. And it's about you, when them times come and you got to weigh the consequences with what you're doing, because if not, you throw your life away easy.
Have you struggled with morality or anything like that because of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm reality based and I can't bring this guy back, but I feel so bad in my heart that I killed this dude. And I didn't do it out of like I killed him on purpose. When the thing happened, there were some movements made and people rushing, and I just fired and it hit him in the upper left chest and killed him. And I didn't mean to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I did it out of reaction. So it's a little different than I just told him get on your knees and took him like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's something you deal with every day. It's a demon. You took somebody's life for a handful of crack. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you telling people because, there's not a lot of people that can legally speak on things like that. There's a lot of people that are so haunted by it, they choose not to speak on it. And I respect you for speaking on it because I feel it's very important for these younger kids to understand that when you kill someone, that isolated incident does not end.
It also made me the type person that when I was in prison, I reacted quick. You know what I mean? I've had stabbing cases. I mean, I've had all kinds of, if you could see my DRs, you'd be like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it desensitizes you where, it's not hard, and then it gets on and on. And so that's one reason why I keep to myself. If you stay in your lane and you do what you need to be doing, you're not going to run across people you're going to have to smash. You know what I'm saying? The same thing in prison. Didn't you see dudes and you observed them and you say, I'm not going nowhere near that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Even though you are who you are and you do what you do and you're not scared of nobody or nothing like that, but you have enough sense that messing with this guy, you're going to end up killing him or maybe getting killed. Well, either way, you know what I'm saying? And you have to be smart and you have to watch and observe your surroundings and then just wind on through it and get by. That's real. That's the realest thing I can say.
Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on and telling us all, about your bid and your experiences. And I definitely feel that your message can have a lot of positive impact on a lot of these younger kids out here. And it's just crazy to me, I'm into history. I'm into hearing about how things are in the past. It's crazy hearing the differences between the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s.
What I want you to do, Jake, I want you to look at the origins of prison from the beginning. When the Civil War broke up and they abolished slavery, they had nobody else to work the fields and stuff because slavery was abolished. So what they did was they got the sheriffs in all these places in the South and they had them lock as many people up as they could and they got them in a prison and then they ran them out to the farms. And so prison is just another slavery. Once they quit using us on chain gangs and all that, now what they do is they get you in there and they charge you $100 for an MP3 player and you know the rest. Start studying it, how it went from there to there. It's the same thing. Last thing is remember, before you do something, think about the consequences. Just don't do it off the spur of your mind. Sit there and think about it. If you can, the things that you hear from me and on his show, think about those things and then think about, is it worth doing it? That's all you can do.
Definitely. And I appreciate you, big dog.
All right, man.